Welcome to YOUCANIC. In this video I'm going to explain what's causing a problem in this vehicle where this electric power steering, it feels fine at first as when you start the car, but then you turn it and it locks up, and then all of a sudden it triggers a number of warnings on the dashboard. So in this case what the problem is, it's a bad steering angle sensor, and the steering angle sensor is right here. Right here you can see one. It's part of the here we have a clock spring. This is called combination switch that has the turn signal and wiper switch and all of that, shifter. But inside has a steering angle sensor, and what the steering angle sensor is determines the position of the steering wheel, which basically determines the positions of the wheels. So if you look at the wheels right now, they are pointing straight forward, but in reality, because the steering wheel is not sending the right signal, it's the car thinks that the wheels are turned. So first let's look at the symptom. Let's start the car. You start turning the steering wheel and it feels fine, and then it locks right there. Okay, if I keep going, it locks, and it's gonna just boom, it just triggers a number. DSR, inoperative, formatic, and then the airbag doesn't have to do anything with that, but traction control, a number of warnings. And the reason why it's doing that is because, like I said, the steering angle sensor is not sending the right signal. There's a couple ways that you can check if that's the right one. The easiest and the simplest way you can do a quick check is point the wheel straight forward, then start the car, okay, and then put the car in reverse. If you look over here, if we look at the lines are getting the input from the steering angle sensor. Right here our lines are pointed that way, so the car is thinking the steering wheel is turned, but the steering wheel is not turned. The wheels are straight, just that the steering angle sensor is not sending the right signal. Another way to check that is if you get a scanner that can read fault codes from various modules. So if you get a full system scanner, so you would want to come and go to the power electronic module, or electronic power steering, and then you can also sometimes see the values from the stability control or ABS module. But we're just going to go to electronic power steering, click here on read data stream, and then steering wheel sensor, press OK, and then you can see the value right there, 362. Alright, so the wheels are straight, but that clock spring is turned one time, rotated one time, so the vehicle thinks the clock spring is sending that signal as if it's turned. So one rotation is 360. If I go one more time, if I turn one more time, it's gonna go up to 720 here on my scanner. But then as I keep going, the car is saying, hey, wait a second, you can only go up to 720. Oh, how come I'm going over? How come I'm getting values higher than that? Because one rotation to the right, 2, that's 360, 720 to the right. If you go to the left, it's going to be minus 360, and another minus 360, it goes minus 720. But if it's saying, wait, you're getting values higher than that, I don't know what's going on. It just throws the computer off, and it says the computer just like disables all those systems, because it's clearly, you know, that values from the steering angle sensor is very important, because in the stability control, for example, it calculates when you go through a turn, it calculates the rotation of every wheel. It takes the data input from the steering angle sensor, and it says, oh, this wheel is spinning, that is not, you know, and it applies brakes and all of that. It gets a little bit tricky and complicated, but yeah, in this case the issue is that here we have a steering angle sensor that is defective. Sometimes this can happen though, because somebody installs a used steering angle sensor and it was removed from a vehicle when the wheels were turned, but then you go and install it with your wheels straight, which that's how you should install it, but they should be also centered, and you just don't know a lot of times when you're getting a used unit. New ones are going to come centered, but used ones, you just never know. You don't know in what position that car was hit. at what position the wheels were where the car was hit. And so that's the tricky part about getting a used one. Sometimes you can't reset these ones, these Mercedes ones like this. They're a little hard to reset because you can press this here and you can turn this. The problem is that some clock springs go 2 revolutions to the right and then they feel resistance. This one doesn't feel, you can't really feel any resistance until you're going too far. But some clock springs you can go to the right 2.5 rotations and then you go all the way full to the other side when you feel a little bit of resistance, and it's usually 5 full revolutions, and then you come back 2.5 and that's your center basically. And then you can reset it, but first you got to reset the clock spring so there is enough ribbon to go 2 turns to the right and 2 turns to the left, and then you can reset that, do a calibration with the scanner, but first you got to do that. I hope that helps and kind of explains what's happening in this case. Of course, we always recommend that you read the codes. Do not replace parts just because you saw a video on this is what the case is here might not be the case in your vehicle. So always troubleshoot the vehicle before you even start throwing any parts on it. That's all. Thanks for watching.